ago, I was diagnosed as pre-diabetic and chose to do the diet exercise route to get things under control.
Yeah.
And a friend tortured me until I came here. And that was 2 years ago, and that's the longest I've ever been in the gym, ever.
That's a good friend, isn't it? Nice to meet you.
Barbara and I had fractured my femur, was finishing up physical therapy, and the therapist said, you don't need physical therapy now, but you do need to go to a gym. Would you go to a gym? I'm like, depends on the gym. And they gave me a flyer for Life in Motion, and I've been coming for almost 2.5 years. So
Love it.
yeah, they're great.
Right.
And now we're like a family because we almost come every day for class.
Wonderful. And Dan?
Yeah, I'm Dan McCoy. I'm a personal trainer. I work actually at the Lorraine West Community Center. Met the folks here at Life in Motion through, we both kind of worked at UPMC at one point. I still work at UPMC. But through adaptive sports and things, they sent out some flyers that they were opening a gym out here, and I've trained a couple folks here out in the main gym. Just folks with spina bifida and different levels of cognitive disabilities. So I know Michael really well.
Can you give them your claim to fame?
Paralympian. So I won a Paralympic gold medal in 2014.
Great, excellent. This is a nice surprise, an extra bonus, added bonus from an adaptive sports athlete, a local superstar in the Paralympic field. Well, my name is Michael Grapner. I am the program coordinator for Adaptive Sports and Recreation. It's an emerging program. We started in 2022. I started working with a physiatrist in the Department of Physical Medicine and Rehabilitation. Her name is Dr. Tuwaka Sorry. Her pedigree and her background, she was a track athlete at Yale. She went to medical school at Harvard. She finished a Master's of Public Health at Johns Hopkins, and she also qualified for the 2016 Olympic Games as a long jumper to represent Ghana.
Wow.
And so while she was here, she was a practicing physician in the Department of PM&R, which is Physical Medicine and Rehabilitation. And her job was to hire on somebody to help develop and promote a community-centered adaptive sports and recreation program. So thankfully, due to my background, I have degrees in kinesiology and exercise science. I was the head diving coach at West Virginia University for 10 years. Prior to that, I was not an Olympic athlete, but I was an athlete, and chose to pursue a career within the sports field, to use my degree, but also apply my skills as a diving coach. And so when this opportunity came up, I jumped all over it. I was very excited and thankful for the opportunity. Now here we are, 3 years later. Dr. Tuwaka is no longer here, but I have the support from the department to continue building this program. And what we're doing, so let's talk about why I'm here. Today, there's three topics of discussion. What is adaptive sports and recreation, and what is the community-centered focus? Number two is just the value of community, and exactly what you said. I forget your name, but I'm not. But you mentioned that it's a family here, it's a community, and that's exactly what we're building throughout all of Greater Pittsburgh. And I'll pick on Dan for a little bit about talking about the community that he's involved in through the adaptive sports community and how we've all come together. And then finally, I'm going to talk about the local organizations. These organizations span from local garden groups to just happy hours and sport specific programs. Okay. Who knows? When you think of adaptive sports, what comes to mind? What are adaptive sports? Anybody?
I would say, having an education background, adaptive education spoke to the needs of the person, of the child.
Absolutely.
So I would think that would translate.
Not just a child, anybody.
Right. Yeah, in my world, it spoke to the child, but.
Absolutely. Anybody else? Bob? It's a physical activity that is modified to suit the needs of the individual, regardless of the disability. So it could be physical, sensory, cognitive, But what we do is just take that sport-specific program and modify it to suit your needs or adapt them to the best of the ability, right?
So
They
we
range.
can call all of our classes that we take here adaptive.
They could be, yeah, absolutely.
New term, Jenny.
Yeah.
Okay. Got it.
Yeah, and it ranges from just your casual recreation, activities, all the way up to the elite level, okay, from the Paralympic Games, and Paralympic athletes. And there are a long list of adaptive sports that we can get into. And some of those examples include, basketball, cycling, yoga, swimming, volunteering. That is a very good example of recreation, okay, because it is community centered. You can spend the day at the park, or even, like I said before, it's a happy hour, because what it does is get you out of your norm, create a center of social inclusion and community. Okay? So community-centered adaptive sports and recreation. So when I was hired, they asked me to help develop this program and I went out into the community, and that's when I met Dan, and that's when I met folks here at Life in Motion. And I looked at the greater Pittsburgh region, and I said, I'm not going to reinvent the wheel, but rather I want to partner. I want to work with everybody that's already doing the adaptive hand cycling, the adaptive basketball, the adaptive rugby, and all of these adaptive sports that are already provided here. What we need to do is create a more social network to bring everybody together so we can share that information to all of you, or share that information with the patients that are currently at Mercy. That's where I see it. And I don't work, I'm not a physician, I'll make that very clear. But what I do is work with the physicians, the nurses, the physical therapists, as well as the recreational therapists to share the news and the information about the opportunities for community-engaged adaptive sports and recreation. So there are a lot of physical benefits, and I'm sure you guys are all experiencing that here. Improved strength and coordination. If you've been here for 2.5 years or longer, you've probably seen increased range of motion, increased boosted morale, boosted overall physical appearance, physical activity. Your mental health. How many of you recognize the feeling that you get before you go to the gym or after you leave the gym? Yes. No problem. And you can just really acute to your knowledge and your understanding, as well as your long-term well-being. You've established some friendships here, you've built connections, and you really look to enhance the longevity of the activities and participation you've really been. Any questions so far? No? Okay, feel free to jump in. I don't have a long slide presentation, but what I do hope for is a better conversation, and we can really communicate for me to help answer your questions, and perhaps you guys can help answer some of mine. But let's go back. This slide right here, and I hope it pauses. This is a very good example of community-centered adaptive sports and recreation. The individual here, and it's, pause on this. This is Jared. Jared came to me a couple of years ago. We met via a Zoom conversation and a Zoom chat. And I said, Jared, tell me your story. Tell me about what your interests are. And he says, Mike, I really don't like sports. I'm not a typical Pittsburgh sports guy. I don't like baseball. I don't like football. He says, I grew up as an extreme sports guy. I was out in California. I was a snowboarder, a skateboarder. And I said, okay, great. I said, but I don't know much about it, but I'm looking forward to learning from you. And as we started going through the conversation, he says, Mike, I'm never going to be able to teach my boys how to skateboard anymore as a result of his accident. And I said, no, we're going to change that. So this was a June conversation, and I said, we don't have any snow on the ground. So what can we do instead? And so I reached out. You can't see it in the picture on the left, but the skateboarders are at Switch and Signal Skate Park. They're located over in Swissvale, just off of 37600 Greater Monroeville. And I reached out and I said, hey, here's my situation. I've got a guy, he's in a wheelchair, and he has 2 boys that want to learn how to skateboard. Can you help? And they said, absolutely, let's bring them in. I said, the point of this is that I want to do is create the shared experience. So dad and sons can participate together. That's the key. he said, absolutely, bring them in, let's get them started. So we got them into skateboarding lessons. So we did that through June and July. Then we got into the fall, and the boys were active in soccer and lacrosse and other activities and other sports. But then come later on in January, later that year, I guess it would have been the year following, so we'll say 2023. Later in January, I worked with Three Rivers Adaptive Sports, and what we did is set up a ski day. We put the boys in a ski lesson that morning, and then we brought Jared in so he could get into the sled and ski that afternoon. Later that day, the boys, Dad, everybody was skiing together. And Jared looked at me with tears in his eyes, and he says, Mike, for the first time in my, since my accident, I forgot I had a disability. I forgot I was disabled. And that was the moment, the aha moment of creating that shared experience, creating that community, having that moment of joy where the disability becomes the second thought, afterthought, right? And from there, now Jared is an avid skier. His boys go with him on a regular basis. He's working on applying for grants to get his own ski. Adaptive equipment is very expensive and not covered by insurance. That's not a conversation we'll have today, but it's something that, there are resources out there throughout the world, in the country and within the community that will help and assist with purchasing of that equipment. So, go ahead. Yeah.
How did he come to you? Like, how do people, anyone can come to you? Does there have to be no scripts or anything?
No scripts, no scripts. Just, this is a community service. This is a community opportunity for me to help you navigate the ways and identify resources and programs that would fit your interests and your needs. You don't even have to be a UPMC patient. I work for UPMC, but really this is a all-inclusive community-centered program. Good question. If there are questions, please feel free to reach out or feel free to ask. But now that Jared is, he's been active in the community for about 3 or 4 years. Like I said, he's an avid skier. He can't wait to ski in the summer months now. He's got a mountain bike, and he gets out, he gets his mountain bike in the car, and he goes mountain biking. And right now he works over at Mercy. He comes in on Thursdays for art therapy with the patients. So he's an incredible artist as well. But just a very good example of the transition from where he was to where he is today and how he's made an impact on our community. The community-centered approach. This picture is an example of the United Spinal Happy Hours. We get together once a month for just simply that, socialization and sharing time together. And this picture was taken up at Highland. It is not always a happy hour. I mean, you don't have to drink if you're not a drinker. It's just an opportunity for you to socialize. We usually pick an accessible restaurant and everybody comes out and joins us. We've started adding activities. Okay, this weekend, coming up on Saturday, is our June happy hour. But we're also working with the Pittsburgh Glass Center to do a hands-on glass class. So we can work those fine motor skills, we can tap into that artistic mind. So we're going to the Pittsburgh Glass Center to do a tour. We're going to get a glass blowing demonstration, as well as a hands-on sunglass or sun catcher class, where then you'll leave with your sun catcher, and then we're going across the street to Romantic Brothers for happy hour and a bite to eat after that. So that's open to anybody and everybody. You don't have to have a spinal cord injury. It's designed with community members based on your common interest and your personal preferences. Okay. We encourage diverse partnerships with gyms. Life in Motion is a perfect example. We've got schools, we've got hospitals, we've got the School for the Blind, we have other nonprofit organizations. There is 40 plus active programs throughout the community that have and offer adaptive programming, okay, or offer the ability to provide adaptive programming, okay, and that is simply a modification, okay, of the services they provide. Other examples locally, the Ronnie Chazier Foundation, we have Life in Motion Gym, Pittsburgh Fitness Project is another gym located in Lawrenceville. And that's where, I know you guys know Kelsey with NeuroAxis, and the people at NeuroAxis, her second location of an in-house kind of a resident PT service is over at Pittsburgh Fitness Project. As well as the Mighty Penguins, Dan McCoy Fitness, and Three Rivers Adaptive Sports. They specialize in skiing, water skiing, snow skiing. They do bowling activities, hand cycling, and a number of different programs all throughout the community. And then they create new and emerging ideas. So if you guys have any ideas, if there's anything of interest that we may not touch on today, if you have something that comes to mind, please feel free to reach out or let me know. We can discuss it. One big initiative that I'm working on right now is working with the Grow Pittsburgh, who sponsors, and they facilitate a lot of the local community gardens around Pittsburgh for the food share program. And I'm looking to work with them to identify and create more accessible gardens, something with a paved pathway, something with a raised bed, something with more accessible parking and more access to public transportation. Those types of services, so we can get people out, get their hands dirty, and create that garden community. Because not everybody likes sports and physical activities, so if we can get them outside and get some fresh air, that's the next step. Here's a list of local organizations, and I will have a web link for you, and I'll share it with with everybody here. But we've got PMNR, that's my program, Life in Motion Gym. You guys are already part of the services we provide. Three Rivers Adaptive Sports, NeuroAxis. Kelsey's coming up with a lot of good opportunities, and we're working with it's on their Venture Outdoors to come up with some fishing opportunities and kayaking opportunities. The Woodlands has overnight accessible accommodations where you can go golfing. They have an indoor pool. What else do they have? They just have a bunch of community programs.
Woodlands, yeah.
Woodlands.
Yeah.
Open Up Yoga. They provide yoga practice for anybody with neurologic disabilities and physical disabilities. And just the Bridging the Gap Coalition. We talked a little bit about that. It's a coalition of all of the local healthcare providers, PT services, health and wellness services, home modification, transportation services. It's a meeting of the minds, a coalition that we're working together to create the resource network that we can provide to anybody and everybody in need of any type of adaptive or modification assistance. It's a great resource that we're developing right now through the Ryan Shazier Foundation. Life in Motion, you guys are awesome. This place is wonderful, and your gym is already part of the solution, okay? Creating that inclusive fitness space, and providing that longevity and the long-term goals, as well as your exercise, the groups in the workshops you provide, not to mention your trained staff. Having the knowledge that they have as former PTs who still maintain their PT license and continue to use the practice, as well as provide the services outside of the restrictions from the healthcare industry, healthcare problem, healthcare, there's a lot that can go into that, but the services that they provide and making it affordable so you're able to participate is really part of a key solution to the problem. So, let's see if this works. This is a website that I'm working on right now. I used it to host the Adaptive Sports conference that we hosted a couple weeks ago. And this was for medical professionals, it was for volunteers, PTs, OTs. But what we did is we created a half-day conference to provide medical education, volunteer etiquette, as well as CME opportunities, continuing medical education services or opportunities for individuals in the healthcare field. We invited med students as well to give them the knowledge and inspiration to participate in more for adaptive sports medicine coverage. But what I'd like to show you is the link that's right up here. Is this page provides a list of all of the local services that provide any type of, since Dan's here, we'll just click on that one. This is a link that provides a list of all of the available services that provide any sort of adaptive sports recreation opportunities locally here in Pittsburgh. And so it gives you a link to Dan's website, his contact information, and all of the details and services that he provides. What I'd like to do is turn this into the Bridging the Gap Coalition website, and what we'll do is we'll keep that front page open with events and services and opportunities that are coming up for people to participate in. But if anybody wants to play golf, you can go, we can work with North Hills Golf Academy. They have adaptive golf carts to help with a lift. It's a hydraulic lift to give you the support. They have all of the right clubs if you need the right curve, or if you need a shortened club, or a curve that helps to work around your chair, or any type of mobility device that you may use. Pittsburgh Fitness Project, Pogo, here. They have an open house tonight, so if anybody's not doing anything, they have an open house from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. But they offer an adaptive fleet of different bicycles and hand cycles and tandem bikes and sources that you're able to use at minimal cost, if any cost. I think they're giving the people that participate tonight that come to the open house, they're giving a $5 voucher for unlimited rides through the summer, up to 30 minutes, or up to there's a certain timeline. Anything after that, you'll pay a small fee. But these are all offered to us right downtown in Pittsburgh at the Eliza Furnace Trailhead. So they're doing an open house this evening, but they do have a number of great bikes.
Different kinds of bikes, maybe?
Yeah. So they've got a side-by-side hand cycle. Now, there's still room for improvement, but it's a great opportunity for them, and just really open up the opportunities for people to get out and go and take a bike ride. And so yes, this website, in addition, what we've got is an opportunity, there's other links that provide disability resources and support services, equipment and mobility devices. And then for anybody who's interested in volunteering, University of Pittsburgh offers the Essentials of Volunteer Training for Adaptive Sports. So you get to learn a little bit more about the application of adaptive sports and volunteer etiquette. There's a lot of good videos, and it's all provided by the staff in the Center of Assistive Technology at the University of Pittsburgh. This one's going to be tough to read. But this is, and I'll send this over to you guys to distribute. But this is basically a summer calendar, a list of all the events that are coming up this summer. You won't be able to read it here. I should have printed off. But for example, May 31st, we have the Everybody Plays Adaptive Sports Field Day, hosted by Dick's House of Sport and Hanger Clinic. Great turnout, considering a cold weather day. Dan was there providing some adaptive fitness opportunities, and he was one of our panelists at as a keynote that day as well. But members from the community all came out to participate. We offered golf, hand cycling, adaptive climbing, functional fitness. There was tennis, both wheelchair tennis and adaptive tennis, as well as Paralympic soccer. We did that day. So really great turnout. I know that we're planning to do it again next year, so we'd like to have Life in Motion join us if possible. Then on June 1st, we did in Verona, which isn't far from here, right? It's just over the river in the other direction. We had an accessible kayak launch, and that was an opening. That's a big step in the right direction. On calm waters in the area right outside of Verona. It's associated with the Steel City rowing program. Coming up on June 7th, we've got the hands-on glass class. On June 13th is the free concerts. The Common Heart is playing. If you haven't heard them, if you like live music, I really recommend it. They put on a great live show. But that's out at the Allegheny River Trail Park over in Aspinwall, and it's a free concert. Then we've got June 14th is the Three Rivers Adaptive Sports and Steel Wheelers and Cycling Clinic. So if anybody is interested in learning from professionals and getting into a hand cycle, if you guys want to come out, you're welcome to join us on June 14th. That day is also the Highmark Walk for a Healthy Community, and that's over at, that is with Next Step Pittsburgh, another local organization. Ranch Easier Fund on June 22nd they're doing a Pirates game at PNC Park. And then coming up on August 8th is the other Disability Pride game at PNC Park, so you can get tickets for a discounted rate. And June 22nd, that's the Pirates game. July 11th is another free concert out at Allegheny River Park. And June 14th to the 17th, if you're active in the water, you want to get in the water, Three Rivers Adaptive Sports provides a water ski clinic. July 14th to the 17th, where they take everybody out. There's a whole army of volunteers and services they provide, whether it's a boat ride. If you want to learn to water ski, they will teach you how to water ski. If you want to just get in a tube and be in the water, they'll do that too. But it is an outstanding event. They've been doing it for a number of years. A lot of people volunteer their boats to provide services. There's jet skis and spotters that are following all of the skiers. And it's several days of a lot of fun on the water. So if you're interested, just I'll send links for all of these. And so we've got United Spinal annual picnic. That's with the Ranch Easier Fund, More Medicine, and the United Spinal Pittsburgh. That's on July 18th. We have Bridging the Gap Coalition Happy Hour Ice Cream Social. That's going to be over in Bakery Square. So not everything is specific to sports. It also opens up to the community of the services and recreation opportunities.
Yeah, if you send that, we'll print it out and hang it up.
Perfect. Yeah, I have flyers for a lot of them. I didn't have the printer capacity to print everything for you, but I'll follow up with an email. Adaptive cycling event, and there is an RSVP, just so we know and I get an idea of how many people are going to be there. But usually turns into a really fun day. There's the flyer for the Water Sports Clinic. The Steel Wheelers have their 5K coming up in September. Walk, run, roll. All proceeds go to support the Steel Wheelers basketball, rugby, and hand cycling team. Venture Outdoors is working with the Verona Dock, as well as they're going to have a second accessible dock located downtown. Here's the River Trail Park. We've got the Common Heart on June 13th. Palmyra on July 11th. August 8th is Sun King Warriors. The only one I'm familiar with is Common Heart.
They're good.
They're really good. They're really
They're
good. So the fact that it's a free show, I highly recommend you take advantage of it. For any wheelchair users, we do have the Pittsburgh Wheelchair Wash coming up in September as well. Where we take your chair, we tune it up, we clean it up, and then we hand it right back to you. So, again, that kind of sums it up. If there's any questions or anything else I can help with, just the floor is yours.
I'm excited to try some water skiing.
I've always wanted to try the water skiing
You should.
and the fishing.
Yeah. Yeah.
They
So,
do fishing, so.
Jake is one of the new guys. Jake and Lauren are putting together the fishing programs right now.
Cool. Okay.
And so that's with Venture Outdoors, and that their summer events calendar coming out soon. They're just working out staffing right now.
That North Park?
So their kayaking is in North Park,
Yeah.
and then they'll be working from their downtown location. And then the fishing is going to be downtown, and then they have a number of other locations that are available.
For the fishing, is it in a kayak or is it like outside the water?
It's from the bank,
Okay.
from the shore.
I was just making sure.
Yeah.
But I saw a couple people in line for that in the cycling, so.
Yeah.
I was-
Yeah. This, I'm every year more and more events continue to pop up, and more services, more and more opportunities. nothing in flight yet, but we were working on it. I had a question the other day. There was a gentleman, he had a brain injury, and he was a former pilot, and he was looking for any type of resource groups, peer support groups of former pilots or anything like that. And I told him, I said, what about VR? Let's put an Oculus on, let's get him back in flight. And so they were looking at those resources as well. But when these questions come up, it's, I generally don't ever give a no answer and say I'll look into it. I'll try to find some way that we can accommodate and find a way that's going to help you pursue your goals or your aspirations to participate.
Along the lines of video games, I don't know if you mentioned
Able gamers and ableists.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so we do, we have an adaptive gaming night, and I say we, the English Ryan Shazier Fund, but the part of the community, they hosted adaptive gaming night as well. Mitch Bell is with Access Plus. It's a UPMC service, but outpatients are welcome to come in. He provides a number of accessible gadgets, and he uses a 3D printer like nobody else, and he can make anything you need. He has he's very involved in the adaptive gaming field.
What about like cooking classes and stuff like that?
Good question. Yes, I've been talking with Amy. Are you familiar with Flower? Flower Power. I believe it's near here, but
Is it Gibsonia?
yep.
Gibsonia on Route 8?
Yep.
Sounded familiar.
So trying to work with them, set up a date to do an adaptive cooking class.
I wonder what that place, I saw the sign, but I didn't know what it was.
A lot of it is geared toward children, so when you walk in, it looks like it's a kid's playground, but she does do adult classes. And so I'm working with them right now, trying to focus on outdoor activities through the summer, so we can kind of get that set up for the fall or winter months. Sometimes in the winter months we tend to hibernate, and it's still important to maintain that sense of community through the winter months as well. Any other questions? No? Thanks for coming in. I really appreciate it. Hopefully it was helpful. Opens up to some new opportunities and
Very interesting.
some opportunities to get involved. And that's really what the community is all about, is creating that community. But I keep sending more and more folks your way. It takes a little bit of time convincing, but once they get here, they tend to love it.
Well, I think it's always the more you know, that's how we feel about going places, is spreading, the word, and even if it's not for you, maybe you know someone that it is for, and you can get the information to them, so.
This just seems like, when people think it's not for me, but it is,
Uh-huh.
because it's for everybody.
It is.
And I love this, and when you make that community, and you see other people doing things that you never thought, you're like, I didn't think that was even a possibility, or maybe that's possible for me,
Right.
and just opens their,
Or I didn't know that we even had that available here.
That's what I find,
And
oh, really?
It's hard to find it until somebody tells you about it. So that's the importance of sharing those resources and sharing and combining our strengths to work together, so we can then refer, somebody to that organization or to that program.
Definitely.
And what I like about the community center, I've talked with folks from other rehab units across the country. Many of them have one gym, or they have a membership base that they they work out of one location, and it's not always accessible. And so if we work within the community in the greater Pittsburgh area, you've got, transitional pathways for independent living down in Washington, PA. And so you have resources that are all throughout the greater Pittsburgh region that can be more accessible to someone based on where you live.
Yeah, I think it's all wonderful. Thank you so much, Michael. Any other thoughts or questions, guys?
No?
No? Thank you.
Yeah, I will.